Hello, 8th graders. This is Miss Hannah. Today we're going to be reading Pecos Bill, the greatest cowboy of all time. So please follow along and enjoy. Pecos Bill had the strangest and most exciting experience any boy ever had. He became a member of a pack of wild coyotes, and until he was a grown man, believed his name was Crop Ear, and that he was a full-blooded coyote. Later he discovered that he was a human being, and very shortly thereafter became the greatest cowboy of all time. This is how it all came about. Pecos Bill's family was migrating westward through Texas in the early days, in an old covered wagon with wheels made from cross-sections of sycamore log. His father and mother were riding in the front seat, and his father was driving a wall-eyed Spavine roan horse and a red and white spotted milch cow, hitched side by side. The 18 children in the back of the wagon were making such a medley of noises that their mother said it wasn't possible even to hear the thunder. Just as the wagon was rattling down to the ford across the Pecos River, the rear left wheel bounced over a great piece of rock, and Bill, his red hair bristling like porcupine quills, rolled out of the rear of the wagon and landed up to his neck in a pile of loose sand. He was only 4 at the time, and he lay dazed until the wagon had crossed the river and disappeared into the sagebush. It wasn't until his mother rounded up the family for the noonday meal that Bill was missed. The last anyone remembered seeing him was just before they had forded the river. The mother and the 8 or 10 of the older children hurried back to the river and hunted everywhere, but they could find no trace of the lost boy, Bill. When evening came, they were forced to go back to the covered wagon, and later to continue their journey without him. Ever after, when they thought of Bill, they remembered the river, and so they naturally came to speak of him as Pecos Bill. What had happened to Bill was this. He had strayed off into the Mystique, and a few hours later was found by a wise old coyote, who was the undisputed leader of the loyal and approved packs of the Pecos and Rio Grande valleys. He was, in fact, the granddaddy of the entire race of coyotes, and so his followers, out of the affection to him, called him Grandy. When he accidentally met Bill, Grandy was curious but shy. He sniffed and he yelped, and he ran this way and that, the better to get the scent and to make sure there was no danger. After a while he came quite near, sat up on his haunches, and waited to see what the boy would do. Bill trotted up to Grandy and began running his hands through the long, shaggy hair. "What a nice dog you are," he repeated again and again. "Yes, and what a nice crop ear you are," yelped Grandy joyously. And so, ever after, the coyotes called the child Crop Ear. Grandy was much pleased with his find, and so, by running ahead and stopping and barking softly, he led the boy to the jagged side of the cabin, or the Big Head, as it was called. This was a towering, massive mountain that rose abruptly, as if by magic, from the prairie. Around the base of this mountain, the various families of the loyal and the approved packs had burrowed out their dens. Here, far away from the nearest human dwelling, Grandy made a home for Crop Ear and taught him all the knowledge of the wild out of doors. He led Crop Ear to the berries that were good to eat and dug up roots that were sweet and spicy. He showed the boy how to break open the small nuts from the pinon. Grandy became his teacher and schooled him in the knowledge that had been handed down through thousands of generations of the pack's life. He taught Crop Ear the many signal calls, and the code of right and wrong, and the gentle art of loyalty to the leader. He also trained him to leap long distances and to dance, and to flip-flop and to twirl his body so fast that the eye could not follow his movements. And most important of all, he instructed him in the silent, rigid pose of invisibility, so that he could see all that was going on around him without being seen. As Crop Ear grew tall and strong, he became the pet of the pack. The coyotes were always bringing him what they thought he would like to eat, and were ever showing him the many secrets of the fine art of hunting. They taught him where the field mouse nested, and where the song thrush hid her eggs, and where the squirrel stored his nuts, and where the mountain sheep concealed their young among the towering rocks. Grandy took pains to introduce Crop Ear to each of the animals, and made every one of them promise he would not harm the growing man-child. "Ugh," growled the mountain lion. "I will be as careful as I can, but be sure to tell your child to be careful too." "Grrr," growled the fierce grizzly bear. "I have crunched many a marrow bone, but I will not harm your boy. Grrr." "Yes, we'll keep our perfumery and our quills in our vest pockets," mumbled the silly skunk and porcupine, as if suffering from adenoids. But when Grandy talked things over with the bull rattlesnake, he was met with the defiance of hissing rattles. "Nobody will ever make me promise to protect anybody or anything. I'll just do as I please." "Be careful of your wicked tongue," warned Grandy, "or you'll be very sorry." But when Grandy met the Wowzer, things were even worse. The Wowzer was a cross between the mountain lion and the grizzly bear, and was 10 times larger than either. Besides that, he was the nastiest creature in the world. "I can only give you a fair warning," yelled the Wowzer, "and if you prize your man-child, as you say you do, you'll have to keep him out of harm's way." And as the Wowzer continued, he stalked back and forth, lashing his tail, gnawing his jaws, and acting as if he were ready to snap somebody's head off. "What's more, you know that nobody treats me as a friend. Everybody says I carry hydrophobia, the deadly poison, about on my person, and because of all these lies, I am shunned like a leper. Now you come sneaking around asking me to help you? Get out of my sight before I do something I'll be sorry for." "I'm not sneaking," barked Grandy in defiance, "and besides, you're the one who'll be sorry in the end." So it happened that all the animals, save only the bull, rattlesnake, and the Wowzer, promised to help Crop Ear bear a charmed life so that no harm should come near him. And by good fortune, the boy was never sick. The vigorous exercise and the fresh air and the constant sunlight helped him to become the healthiest, strongest, most active boy in the world. Thank you so much, students. That's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed this, and please take care. See you. Bye.